Hello my brethren, I hope you're all well. Today, as the title suggests, we will talk about the female brain. I briefly touched on this issue on previous videos, and I believe a much more in-depth video is needed to describe from my point of view and experiences the female brain and how I see it. Now, before I start, and I want to start with this thing first, I want to make some things clear. I know I don't come from the purest of starts with regards to MGTOW. I have been awkward, but the awkwardness was snapped out of me by force by the age of 15. I was disappointed by girls at the age of 16, then I radically changed myself in order to attract girls. I educated myself regarding my own psychological issues, be it physical abuse and then weird sexual occurrences, along with depression that I faced. I studied body language along with the aim of improving with regards to my work and also my understanding of women. I have been involved in multiple long-term relationships and many more casual ones. I also studied pickup artist books. Red pill knowledge mainly came from Rollo Tomassi, and my interactions with women are molded on the interactions with my siblings, who I have a lot more females than males. In my life, the majority of my friends are men, but I also have female friends. I treat all of them the same, as I described in another video. No differences between the sexes are noted. I still date, for lack of a better term, and I still have sex with women. And I also enjoy female company. I believe my journey has been one of self-exploration with an ultimate goal of understanding females in the long run. This has led me from relationships to relationships, which never felt quite satisfying until I understood that the fault lies within me. I realized that I was viewing myself through female eyes, and that was not what I wanted myself to be. That's where I found my first red pill moment a couple of years back. Then the journey was mostly on self-exploration. However, the previous knowledge with regards to females still exists, and I do think that it's still valuable. I have to say that I'm going to be quite biased here. My views on this video will be based on my own experiences and experiences of multiple men in the manosphere, including those of pickup artists as well. I don't deny that fact. I believe everyone offers information, good or bad information. It's still information, and I judge that information with my own experiences, and I choose what applies and what does not apply here. So since I got that out of the way, let's get to it. The female brain, as viewed from the male perspective. Female viewer discretion is advised. Women and men are fundamentally different creatures, both in our behaviors and also in our wants. Females are viewed through the gynocentric lens, and most of the males are seen as disposable from a very young age. Boys are much less likely to receive affection, and as such realize from a young age that for their needs to be met, they need to do things themselves. Females, on the other hand, learn from a very young age that complaining, seen initially in the form of crying, wakes up something inside other humans that ends up gratifying them and their wishes. This creates a fundamentally selfish identity for females and also a fundamentally selfish identity for men, but of course for different reasons. I'm not going to focus on men here, I will focus on females. The female is like a cat, looking at the world, serving her and giving her things because she deserves those things. There exists an identity inside women, one that is linked directly on her youth and beauty, that which gives her value. Sure, there is exceptions to this, but there is no single female out there that does not value her youth and beauty and does not take at least a large chunk of her self-worth from that. Now, a lot of these things are genetic and require almost no effort at all, and as such she's given to understand that the very fact that she was born creates this dynamic where people would be giving her shit if only she asks and complains about it. And the gynocentric society exists only to promote that ideology. Even if a woman goes from a phase where she's seeing a red pill man, it's a shock to her system that the world no longer works like she's used to. Because as long as she's out in work or interacting with other men, she gets her way. Whereas in the reality with that red pill man, that does not happen, and she gets things only at the merit of her efforts and personality. Now, why am I focusing so much on this selfish part of the female brain? I'm doing this because this part explains hypergamy a lot, and it also explains her interactions with the rest of the world, along with the kind of interactions a lot of us men have faced with regards to these females. So a selfish identity with regards to females, one where youth and beauty creates a situation where she deserves to be given stuff, creates a reality in her head that she needs to do nothing in order to get attention and gratification. Females, after all, are social creatures much like men are, but unlike men who compete with each other for status, they compete with each other and compare with each other regarding material goods and their man's possessions. So the complaining and demand the man gets from his woman are interlinked with the demand and gratification of her friend's demands. That means to say, gentlemen, that as men we're only as strong as our weakest man. Now, where does this hypergamy fit in all of these things? Evolution created the need for women to want to acquire resources. This acquisition comes in the form of a man. Sure, modern women work themselves, but her man's resources in her mind are her own resources, because she deserves them for the reasons I mentioned before, youth and beauty. So it should come as no surprise that a woman believes in her mind that all the stuff that a man has are also seen as her stuff. That's why you see women browsing around your apartment when they come in for the first time. They want to see your material worth, how much they can gain from this. They do it instinctively. I mentioned this in my video about hypergamy paranoia, but consciously they do believe that everything a man has is hers. She has to. She needs to raise babies. The instinct is still there, even if she has no plans to do that. Now we're moving on to another fundamental difference between men and women: the brain structure. Female brains are more interconnected and more interlinked, with a much better ability to recognize emotions and understand those emotions. The evolutionary reason for this is simple. They had to raise babies, and in order to understand them, there needed to be this ability to actually understand another human being without the ability to voice something. So for all intents and purposes, we see all aspects of a female brain: emotions, relationships, work, friendship, shopping, clothes, self-image, selfishness, self-worth, wants and needs, as all being interconnected in a weird maze of neuronal connections. That's the most fundamental difference between men and women. An emotionally charged maze of interconnected aspects of herself that can get poked even independently of each other. You might not see a link between the clothes and her self-worth, but there is a link for her. It exists. In a woman's mind, there's a few things that she consciously understands, and it's how she looks at herself. These things are the following: looks, beauty, status, money, and material possessions. The first two things reflect her ability to attract a man. The rest of the three reflect her man's ability to provide for her and her baby. Given the modern world we live in, women also acquire status, money, and material possessions themselves, and are all noble causes, as they inherently need those things in order to build their identity. But since what a man has is also hers, and she sees it as hers as well, her value in her mind goes up. That's hypergamy, and a woman will always want to add to her value and not dilute her value, and as such, a man with lower status, money, and material possessions than her will never be a choice. Now, we talked about this maze of interconnected ideas, and then we digressed to this aspect of female identity and the basis of hypergamy. I believe it's important to understand both in order to understand the basis of the shit test and also the irrationality with regards to the male brain regarding to the demands and complaints that come from the female. This maze of interconnections between the different aspects of her creates an irrational moments where the boiler, for example, might break down and suddenly you're not the man she wanted, because she sees herself living without hot water and only very poor people live without water. And she definitely doesn't deserve that. I don't know if the link is like that, but there is definitely a link there. The reality also creates a different scenario. Since we are only aware of our feelings after they occur, and since a lot of the things interconnect with her sense of worth, and anything can give her sadness and anger, it creates a reality where a woman will be angry, sad, crying, or depressed, but have no idea why she's experiencing that. She has to search her entire brain in order to find as to why she's feeling like this. The fact of the matter is, she will never know, and her explanations may never be sufficient. But that's how she is, and that's how she will be. Hormones also play a part in this as well, and they make her lose, let's say, control maybe of her frontal lobe and the inhibition of her emotions. Hence where the saying that a woman may be hormonal comes from. However, if you notice during periods of happiness, a woman will never be hormonal. That means to say, if everything in her life is just right, she will never experience any negative emotions. But over the duration of a relationship, she will have these emotions and those irrational moments all the time. Something that creates shit tests, or the theory behind the shit tests. If she feels your value is going down, then that directly reflects on her value. However, if you push back and she sees that your value as a man is what it was, then she's instantly happy. She's instantly not hormonal. That's because your value inherently reflects in her sense of self-worth. Otherwise, she will move on to someone better, and she's testing to see whether you're the man you say you are. That's why MGTOWs get a lot of abuse, because they don't want to play the game. To them, female rules are the only rules, and they don't understand the world without them. Hell, a lot of the men do not understand a world without female rules. So we talked about emotions, we talked about self-worth, we talked about shit test, we talked about the interconnection between a female brain and the emotionality involved with those connections. Now we reach the final point. Love. Can a woman truly love you? From the male point of view, no, she can't. From the female point of view, yes, she can. But again, if we go back to the previous statement, that love will come with regards to your self-worth, so it's not really love for a person, it's love for his value as a person, his manly worth measured in the female sexual market value points, let's say. If anything changes, then you're no longer the man you were before in her mind. That might still satisfy her level of hypergamy, or she might be too invested for her to change a partner, but you need to understand that for females, love is not what we think love is. A female can love a murderer, a rapist, a criminal, a mass murderer, a dictator, and not a single thought would be spared on his moral values. Morals are not part of this equation. That doesn't mean that she doesn't have morals herself. She does, but her attraction towards you is not based on any of your morals. I think this video ran a bit long, and I know that people lose interest after a while, so I will simply stop it here. If I forgot something, or you want me to add something else, just let me know and I will make a follow-up to this video. Thank you very much for listening. This was Nico Chosky talking about all things man. Please like, share and subscribe for more updates.